Beloved, have you ever felt a stirring deep within, a subtle whisper that your current season cannot contain the fullness of who you are becoming? You may not be able to name it, but you can feel it, an inner pull, a divine unease, a sacred restlessness. It is as though the ground beneath you is shifting, calling you out of the ordinary into something extraordinary. That feeling is not confusion. That sensation is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is the invisible hand of heaven telling you, I am enlarging your life. And that, my friend, is where our journey begins. With the first sign that God is preparing you for something bigger, the restlessness in your spirit that signals transition. Restlessness in your spirit signals transition. There comes a time when what once satisfied you no longer quenches the thirst of your soul. You may look at your life and see no catastrophe, no disaster, no glaring loss, and yet something inside whispers that there must be more. This restlessness is not confusion, nor is it dissatisfaction for the sake of complaint. It is the sacred announcement that your spirit is ready for a new dimension. Consider how a bird feels when it has outgrown the nest. The nest was once perfect, warm and safe, but there comes a day when the wings itch to stretch, and the skies begin to call. But unease is not punishment. It is preparation. In the same way, when God is preparing you for something bigger, He begins by making your current season feel too small for the greatness that is forming inside you. Many mistake this restlessness for ingratitude. They say, why am I not happy with what I have? Why do I feel unsettled even though nothing is wrong? Beloved, it is not that you are ungrateful. It is that heaven is stirring the waters of your soul. What you once called enough is no longer enough, because God is enlarging the borders of your spirit. Think of a seed underground. For a time the soil is comfortable, dark and nourishing, but then something changes. The seed feels a pressure, a push, a stirring from within. It cannot remain buried. It must break through. That breaking is not destruction. It is destiny. Your restlessness is the push of new life pressing against the shell of the old. You may feel a deep inner question. Is this all there is? Am I meant for more? Well, that question is holy. It is not doubt. It is destiny. It is the spirit signaling that your time in the cocoon is coming to an end. Like the caterpillar who suddenly feels confined in its shell, you are being readied for wings you have not yet seen. This is why people suddenly feel called to new ventures, new visions, new levels of faith. What once satisfied their hunger now feels like crumbs, because a greater feast has been prepared. The stirring within you is proof that your story is not finished. God is stretching your spirit so you may rise to meet the greater horizon. That inner unrest is not a problem to be solved, but a message to be heeded. It is heaven's way of telling you that you have completed one chapter and are being summoned into another. Your heart is awakening to a reality that your eyes have not yet seen. The spirit knows before the body moves. When you feel restless, it is because your spirit has already glimpsed the future and is calling your life to align with it. Closed doors are divine redirections. When God begins preparing you for something bigger, you will notice doors closing, sometimes abruptly, sometimes painfully. A job that once seemed secure may suddenly end. A relationship you thought was permanent may dissolve. An opportunity you longed for may slip out of reach. At first it feels like rejection, but in truth it is redirection. God does not close doors to punish you. He closes them to protect you from what is too small for you, too shallow for you, or too dangerous for the calling he has placed within you. To the human mind, a closed door looks like loss. But in the divine order, a closed door is the removal of what could hinder your enlargement. Imagine a child holding tightly to a toy that has become broken. The parent gently takes it away, not to deprive the child, but to replace it with something new, something better, something whole. Likewise, when God removes an opportunity, he is not taking from you, but making space for what will align with your future. What you mourn as a loss may in fact be the mercy that saves you from smaller dreams. Closed doors are often the loudest messages heaven sends. You may pray for an answer, and the answer comes not in words, but in the shutting down of a path. The business deal collapses. The connection fades. The door you kept knocking on refuses to open. At that moment it is tempting to force it, to push harder, to demand entry. But wisdom whispers, trust the closure. The hand that closed it is the same hand preparing a greater opening. Every delay, every denial, every ending is designed to reposition you. Think of Joseph in the scriptures, sold by his brothers, thrown into prison, forgotten by men. Each closed door seemed like a tragedy, yet each was a step toward the palace. Without the prison, there would be no throne. Without the betrayal, there would be no elevation. The closed doors were the compass that guided him to destiny. So too, when your door shuts, do not curse it. Recognize it as a signal. God is saying, this is not your way. This is not your place. I have prepared something beyond this. Closed doors redirect you to the path that was always yours to walk. There is a divine choreography at work, moving you in rhythm with unseen opportunities. What you thought was an ending is often the beginning of a better alignment. Trust the closures, for they are not empty. They are pregnant with new beginnings. The door that shuts today is the evidence that a greater door is being carved open for you tomorrow. Challenges and resistance confirm growth. When God is preparing you for something bigger, life will not always become easier at first. It may become harder. You will notice the weight increasing, the pressures multiplying, and the resistance rising. But do not mistake resistance for rejection. Resistance is the clearest evidence that growth is happening. A tree that grows tall must push through the soil, endure the winds, and withstand storms. The very pressure that seems to oppose its rise is the same force that strengthens its roots. So it is with you. When you feel pressed on every side, it is not because you are abandoned. It is because you are expanding. The greater the calling, the greater the resistance. Challenges are heaven's training ground. Think of an athlete preparing for competition. Every muscle must be tested, stretched, and strengthened before the victory is won. Without the weight to push against, the body never grows stronger. Without the trials that stretch your faith, your spirit never discovers its full capacity. God allows resistance not to break you, but to build you. Often just before a breakthrough, life seems to intensify. Problems appear out of nowhere. Obstacles rise unexpectedly. The path becomes narrow. Why? Because the adversary senses what is ahead. The closer you are to stepping into your destiny, the more the enemy will attempt to push you back. Increased opposition is a divine announcement that promotion is near. Think of David standing before Goliath. Before he could hold the crown, he had to face the giant. The challenge was not meant to stop him, but to reveal the greatness already inside him. Without Goliath, David remains a shepherd boy. With Goliath, he becomes a king in waiting. Your giants are not signs of weakness. They are signs of destiny. Every difficulty you face is sharpening you, preparing you, and molding you for the assignment ahead. You may feel tired, but that tiredness is proof that you are in the arena. You may feel opposed, but that opposition is confirmation that you are advancing. The road to enlargement is paved with resistance, and every struggle is a stepping stone. So when storms come, when obstacles rise, when pressures mount, lift your head and recognize them for what they are. They are not signals of defeat, but signs of preparation. The universe does not test those going nowhere. It tests only those being prepared for somewhere greater. A deep hunger for more awakens within. Another unmistakable sign that God is preparing you for something bigger is the awakening of a hunger that nothing earthly can satisfy. It begins subtly. You achieve what you once dreamed of, yet it feels incomplete. You receive what you once prayed for, yet your soul longs for more. That hunger is not discontentment. It is the voice of destiny calling you higher. Inside every human spirit lies a divine seed, and that seed constantly seeks expansion. Just as an acorn is never satisfied until it becomes an oak, your spirit is never satisfied with smallness when greatness is planted within. When God begins enlarging you, he awakens a craving that pushes you out of comfort zones and into uncharted territories. This hunger is different from ambition. Ambition is often rooted in comparison, striving to prove oneself or chasing recognition. But the hunger God awakens is holy. It is not about being greater than others. It is about becoming greater than your former self. It is the soul's yearning to fulfill the measure of its creation. You may find yourself restless, even after success. The applause of people no longer moves you. The comforts of yesterday no longer feed you. Deep inside, a voice says, there is more. There is a higher place. There is a greater call. That voice is not imagination. It is revelation. This hunger often shows up in unusual ways. You may feel drawn to prayer more than before, seeking wisdom you cannot find in human words. You may find your heart stirring for causes, visions, or assignments that once seemed far beyond your reach. You may wake up with new desires, new ideas, or new dreams that will not let you rest until you begin to pursue them. This is God planting seeds for your next season. Consider Moses, raised in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by wealth and comfort, yet something inside him burned for his people. No luxury could silence the hunger for a greater purpose. That hunger led him into the desert, and from the desert into his destiny. Hunger always precedes greatness. This deep yearning is not to torment you, it is to propel you. If you feel it, do not ignore it. That inner fire is God's way of telling you that your current chapter is not your final chapter. He awakens the hunger to make you move, to stretch, to believe for what seems impossible. Without hunger, there is no pursuit. Without pursuit, there is no fulfillment. This inner pull is the compass of destiny. It is the invisible magnet, drawing you toward the larger life you were designed to live. When you feel it, understand this. Heaven is preparing you. Something greater is forming. Something bigger is waiting. That hunger is the announcement. Increased spiritual warfare. precedes breakthrough. One of the clearest indicators that something bigger is on the horizon is the sudden surge of spiritual warfare. When you are about to step into a new season, the pressure intensifies, the battles increase, and the resistance seems unrelenting. It is not because you are failing. It is because you are close to winning. Darkness never fights what does not threaten it. If your life were going nowhere, the enemy would leave you alone. But the very fact that you feel the weight of opposition is the evidence that your destiny is significant. The adversary only attacks what carries value. The stronger the warfare, the greater the assignment on your life. Think of a woman in labor. The pain intensifies just before the child is born. The contractions become closer, sharper, and more demanding. This is not the sign of death. It is the sign of delivery. So it is with spiritual warfare. When you are at the edge of breakthrough, the opposition grows fierce, not to destroy you, but to signal that something new is about to be birthed. Many misinterpret warfare as abandonment. They say, "Why is everything going wrong? Why am I facing so many battles?" But the truth is, those battles are the announcement of promotion. The enemy sees what you cannot see, that your next step carries influence, impact, and enlargement. So he rises to intimidate, to discourage, to wear you down. But notice this: every time you face warfare, it stretches your faith. It forces you to pray deeper, to trust more, to lean on God rather than on yourself. The battle is not wasted. It is training your spirit for the weight of the future. The crown you are about to carry requires a level of strength that only conflict can produce. Consider Job. His life was righteous, blessed and flourishing, yet he endured unimaginable trials, because his story was not just about suffering. It was about proving that faith can outlast the fiercest attacks. And on the other side of the warfare, Job's life was doubled in blessing. His warfare was the bridge to his enlargement. So if you feel surrounded, pressed down, or attacked from every angle, take note. This is not a random season. It is a divine indicator. Spiritual warfare always intensifies before a new dimension of blessing, calling, or influence. The very pressure you feel is the announcement that your story is about to shift into something greater. New divine connections enter your path. Another undeniable sign that God is preparing you for something bigger is a sudden arrival of new people in your life. People who lift, guide, and challenge you into greater dimensions. These are not ordinary relationships. They are divine appointments, carefully orchestrated by heaven to prepare you for what is ahead. Life is shaped by relationships. Who you walk with determines how far you go. And when God is ready to enlarge your life, He introduces new voices, new mentors, new friends, and sometimes even unexpected strangers who play a role in your destiny. They may come as encouragers, as teachers, as vision carriers, or as protectors. Each carries a piece of the puzzle that leads you toward your larger future. Think of David and Jonathan. David was anointed to be king, but he was still a young shepherd, navigating battles. Jonathan, the son of Saul, stepped into David's life at the right time, offering loyalty, wisdom, and protection. Without Jonathan, David's journey would have been far more difficult. Divine connections are God's way of ensuring you are not alone on the path to greatness. Sometimes, these connections appear suddenly. You may meet someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. You may encounter a voice that awakens your dormant dreams. You may cross paths with a mentor who carries knowledge you need for the next stage. These moments are not coincidence. They are divine choreography. At the same time, when new connections enter, Old ones may fade. This is not betrayal, but transition. Not everyone is assigned to walk with you into the bigger season. Some relationships are meant for the nest, not the sky. When God sends new people, it is because He is aligning your circle with your future, not your past. You will know these connections by the fruit they bring. They bring peace, wisdom, encouragement, and clarity. They do not drain your spirit. They energize. They do not distract you. They refocus you. They do not limit you. They expand you. Their presence is a sign that God is enlarging your assignment and preparing you for more. Even in Scripture, every great shift came with divine connections. Moses had Aaron, Ruth had Naomi, Paul had Barnabas. Each was strategically placed to guide, strengthen, or prepare the other for a higher calling. So too, when new people begin appearing in your life, who sharpen your vision and ignite your faith, know this: you are being positioned for something great. Old habits and attachments must be released. When God is preparing you for something bigger, He often calls you to release what no longer serves your spirit. Habits that once seemed harmless begin to feel heavy. Relationships that once gave comfort begin to drain you, and environments that once fit you now feel too small. This release is not about loss. It is about alignment. Just as a gardener prunes a tree, cutting away branches not to destroy it, but to make room for more fruit, so does God prune your life. The letting go may feel painful, because the familiar is being stripped away, but it is heaven's way of creating space for the new. Old ways cannot sustain new seasons, and what you refuse to release can hold back the blessing waiting for you. Inner promptings guide your next steps. Another sign of divine preparation is the rising of an inner voice, a holy prompting that directs you toward paths your logic may not fully understand. This inner leading is quiet but persistent. It comes as a nudge, a deep conviction, a knowing that cannot be shaken. You may find yourself drawn to move, to start, to change, to pursue something that seems beyond your ability. Yet the prompting does not leave. That is not random thought. It is divine guidance. The Spirit always speaks in alignment with your destiny, guiding you step by step toward what is greater. These inner promptings are God's whispers, gently steering you into your larger calling, even when the way ahead seems uncertain or unseen. Pruning always comes before abundance. When God is preparing you for something bigger, you will experience pruning, a season where certain things are cut away, reduced, or stripped back. It may look like loss on the surface, but in truth it is preparation for abundance. Just as a vine must be trimmed to yield richer fruit, so must your life undergo seasons of removal to create space for overflow. The pruning is never random. It targets what hinders your growth, what drains your strength, what blocks your expansion. You may find finances tightening, opportunities slowing, or relationships shifting, and it feels as if everything is being reduced. Yet in the unseen, this pruning is fertilizing your soil, shaping you for a harvest greater than before. Expansion is God's promise for your future. Another sign of divine preparation is the stirring of expansion. God never reduces your life to keep you small. He enlarges your vision, your influence, your opportunities, your capacity to carry more. This expansion begins within. As your faith grows, your dreams stretch, and your spirit starts to see beyond present limits. What once felt impossible begins to feel attainable, because you sense that God's hand is guiding you toward a broader horizon. You may notice doors opening in unexpected places, platforms widening, and responsibilities increasing, not because of striving, but because of divine design. Expansion is the language of heaven. signaling that your future is greater than your past, and that you are being positioned to carry more than you once imagined. You have now walked through the unmistakable signs that God is preparing you for something bigger. You've seen how restlessness in the spirit is not confusion but transition. You've learned that closed doors are not rejection, but redirection. You've discovered that challenges and resistance are confirmations of growth. You've felt the hunger for more stirring within, reminding you that smallness cannot contain greatness. You've recognized that spiritual warfare intensifies not at the beginning, but right before breakthrough. You've seen how new divine connections step into your path to align you with destiny. You've understood the call to release old habits and attachments, for pruning always precedes abundance. You've heard the whisper of inner promptings guiding your next steps. And above all, you've embraced the truth that expansion is God's eternal promise for your future. Beloved, your life is not shrinking. It is enlarging. Your story is not closing. It is opening. Your destiny is not fading. It is rising. Hold these truths close to your heart, for they are not just signs, they are invitations. Step boldly, walk faithfully, and live expectantly, for the greater season is already unfolding. This is the message we share with you here on Where Faith Meets Destiny, and your spirit is reminded of its divine call.